Hello, ladies and gentle sores. It has been a minute since I touched up on any of this hybrid stuff, but with the release of Goji Guy's Reiner and my collaboration with the Overseer and Vividen well on the way, it's high time I start milking this golden cow just like everybody else. Today I'm gonna keep it simple and just talk about 10 of my favorite hybrids and why. Also, yes, you got baited, this is just my 10 favorites and not the 10 objectively most powerful or best or congruent or whatever. Starting ourselves off at number 10, we have Alien Evolution's Cthulhu, which he created to fight in Goji Guy's aquatic hybrid war that, frankly, I didn't pay much attention to. Just like the rest of Alien Evolution's creations, be it the cows of Project Apollo or the carnivorous chimps and elephants, Cthulhu is simple, effective, and very creative. Just about every genome contributor is clearly represented in the art, and the contributors are cleverly placed. Sure, it's got tentacles hanging off its front end like a mop, but that's what gives it character. Alien Evolution's content was probably the biggest inspiration for my own channel, especially Project Apollo, which inspired me to create my Orbis Pagona series, which once again is not coming back. You can stop asking. Thank you. Zayn Reborn also kept it very simple but unique with his hybrid Maddie, making a smaller hybrid fast enough to be hard to catch, but big enough to do damage with passing strikes. With 9 contributors, Maddie could very much be summarized with 2 words: Big Bird. But this big bird's genome coalesces into a unique and believable animal that you might not think is meant to be a hybrid without knowing. In my opinion, one of the coolest things about Maddie is the backwards-facing claws, courtesy of the vampire bat's hind limbs. When I was trying to draw Maddie, it was kind of a brain buster for my mind to comprehend, but the more I thought about how much the anatomy behind this foot would work, the cooler I thought it was. At number 8, we have Frank. Yes, one of the many AI-generated submissions condemned to the hybrid Hall of Shame. Frank makes this list because I like to think that the person who submitted him is either a very creative child who just wanted to submit something better than what they could draw, or they were a madman fully aware of the rules and submitted a ridiculous AI-generated Sith Lord axolotl elephant anyway. And for that, Frank has my respect. But AI art is still slop, so here's my own drawing of Frank, aka Samson if he watched the Clone Wars on Cartoon Network growing up like I did. The one that started off all this hullabaloo. Without the Indom 2.0, none of you guys would be watching this video, and I wouldn't have created Samson. I think the appeal of the Indom 2.0 was that Goji Center presented this thing not only as a rehashed Indominus Rex, but also as a sort of exterminatus of dinosaurs. If it wasn't the rapidly multiplying population that would kill everything on the island, the lingering disease would finish the job. The apocalyptic nature of the Indom 2.0 was complemented by Goji Center's use of scripture, which I hyperfixated on because I love theology and biblical themes, and decided to bring the power of Christ to dinosaur YouTube. A visually very simple but thematically complex hybrid that I myself tried to reflect as both a fan of Goji Center's content and as a creator who saw the opportunity to ride some hype and get some ad revenue. At number 6, we have Jenny by Ok-Kaleidoscope. This hybrid is the only one on this list I chose that was from someone that I didn't really know of prior to choosing it, after asking some folks in a Discord if they had something that could fill an empty slot for this video. Much like Zayn's Maddie and many others, Ok-Kaleidoscope's hybrid sticks out thanks to its genome being made entirely of cephalopods, with the only exception being the jellyfish for some venom and nematocysts, which once again creates something that looks entirely plausible and looks like it could very well be its own creature outside of any hybrid war context. What stands out about Jenny is that she takes advantage of many hybrids having extremely strong senses by overstimulating her opponents. Translucent skin, flashing lights, tentacles, and ink, enhanced by a number of venoms, might make many of you rethink going for such strong senses with your hybrids. Now, they haven't started uploading yet, but the link to Ok-Kaleidoscope's channel, as well as anyone else mentioned in this video, are in the description below, so go ahead and give them a sub, or follow them on whatever platform it is. One of the more recent additions to the hybrid sphere, Goji Guy's Reiner stands out not only as funny, but also as a vehicle to bring more attention to cool Triassic animals such as Lisavicia, but also as a vehicle to bring more attention to cool Triassic animals through the use of Lisavicia, the biggest and coolest dicynodont from the Triassic. Me and Goji Guy have gotten closer since he started working on Reiner, and if all goes well, him, I, and maybe a couple of others will be traveling to Poland, where Lisavicia was discovered, to visit some dig sites for a fun vlog-type video. Other than that, I enjoy Reiner because he takes a different approach in both form and function, being the most unique looking hybrid with his dark body, bright red face, and silver mane. The color scheme is very simple but works very well. It is in my opinion the most fun hybrid that has come out of all of this. Custosimus Arctos, a hybrid war submission by my friend Chunky Kong 01, now known as Monkey Bomb 01, is pretty high up on my list simply because he's a good artist and a friend of mine. But he also took my mammals-only shtick that I had with Samson but made no exceptions, which many others did as well, but this is my favorite by far. He made a pretty gnarly looking ground sloth / ape that I was hoping would make it into the top 16, but unfortunately did not. To me, it honestly looks like something that could be in Monster Hunter, almost like a hybrid between Rajang or Kongalala and Doshaguma. This is another example of a genome that, despite its many contributors, forms into its own unique looking creature. Coming in at the top 3, we have Nemiphagax by Pixel Studios. This one is pretty special to me because I got to see its creator Pixel create it on my server in real time. This and I believe one more hybrid that made it into the top 16 were made by members of my Discord server, and I'm happy to have hosted a place for them to be creative in. Out of all the ones I feature here, Nemi is certainly what Vividen would call the most awesome bro looking hybrid. However, the standout feature for me is his use of the Megalodon not for its bite, but for its cartilaginous skeleton, cushioning existing cartilage and providing enhanced shock absorption for those more devastating blows. And it's my personal belief that had Nemi not gone up against Monstertherium, he would have at least made it to the top 4, and maybe into the final round. If I'm not mistaken, Pixel intends on making a video on Nemi, so I'll include the link to his YouTube channel below. Another one of Goji Center's hybrids, I think Ultima is chief among my favorite YouTube hybrids. Ultima is pretty high up on this list, mainly because of the thought that went into its ecology, which is kind of what I geek out on this channel if you haven't noticed already. In particular, the cuckoo bird style parasitism that she takes advantage of. Not too long before this video came out, I had read Prehistoria by Jack Blackburn, who's also the lead researcher at Goji Center. Having read that book, I knew that Ultima's mutualistic relationship was his idea, as his book presents a very similar relationship. Ultima, and Jack's book, Ultimately, was the main inspiration for the Bastiotama in my Ark and Monster Hunter crossover video. Taking the first place spot for my favorite hybrids, we have my friend the Overseer's brand new hybrid,
Hello, humanity. We apologize for the many delays. We are just as eager as you are to see if your species will be obliterated or ascend to greatness. We have had many interlopings get in the way on our journey to the first planet, but we now hover in the atmosphere of Gameraptine and await the performance of your first champion, the Overseer,